let me introduce what I'm going to demonstrate for you using BlackBird. So on my chart, I've got two indicators. I've got the ADX VMA and the super trend indicator. You have probably seen these two indicators. They seem to be very popular, right? So I'm going to use these two indicators to help demonstrate, some simple tasks that BlackBird can do for you. And before I get going too far, I just want to give credit for those two indicators. So the ADX VMA and the super trend were made by Harry, or AKA Fat Tails, on Futures.io. Yeah, so that's where these two indicators are coming from. Okay, so there you go, a little credit where these indicator credits due. First thing, I'm going to start off very simple here and just show you guys here. Let me kind of slow this down here. So first thing I'm going to do is get an order started here. All right. So the first thing I did is something real simple. I just attached, right, the entry order. So this is a limit entry order. I attached it to the ADX VMA. Pretty simple. So you can just see some real simple kind of automation that BlackBird can do for you, right? So obviously you could attach your entry order, to any kind of indicator, or moving average or whatnot, right? So this type of entry is, very common for those who like to trade bounces or pullbacks, bounces off of a moving average, or pullbacks to some kind of moving average, right? So there's our first one. So this kind of, just something real simple to kind of ease you guys into what BlackBird can do here. So let's see, roughly a few more seconds here. The market should pull back and fill this. And then, right, we'll have a profit target and a stop loss. So there we go. Okay, so let me kind of slow this down a little bit, quite a bit there. All right. So yeah, so this second part, I'm going to show you some, intelligence that I've implemented into the profit target, and then on the second example, I'll show you what we've done with the stop loss here, right? So the profit target, I've thrown it way out there as a 7 ATR, for the purpose of this demonstration. I don't want my profit target to be hit. Otherwise, I won't be able to demonstrate the intelligence, that I've programmed into it here. So what we're going to do, so what we're waiting on is we're waiting on the market here. It's going to start consolidating on us here in a few minutes. And the precise condition, that I've told this profit target to look for is when price pulls back, and if price touches the super trend indicator, right? Like back over here, for example, right? If if you jump into this thinking that market's going to go long a little early, and then price kind of pulls back to the super trend, and if price touches the super trend, what I've done is I've told the profit target to pull in a lot. So the profit target, instead of it being a 7 ATR, it's going to pull in to the ADX VMA. It's going to drop way down here. So if the market doesn't take off in the direction you're expecting, but instead kind of pulls back and consolidates, right? That might be a clue that the trend is kind of over, or the trend isn't ready to get started, whatnot. So it might be time to just get out of the trade with hopefully at least a little bit of profit, right? So that's what our profit target is going to do for us here. In a few more seconds here. Let's see, I'm just waiting for, a few more seconds. So let's kind of speed this up here a little bit. And then I'll slow this down. Yeah, there we go. So let's slow this down here, right? So, oops, oh, there, let's get that going. So there we go. Shoot, that happened real quick. Sorry about that. that happens very quick. But you remember the profit target was way up above, up above the highs here. But then as soon as price came in and touched our super trend indicator, right? So we can see the wick of this range bar, broke the super trend. And then what happened is the profit target pulled itself in, in hopes that, if you're trading here, the hope is that you always want your profit targets to get hit because you're going to capture more profit instead of your stop loss getting hit, right? So even though this stop loss, it's in a profitable position, right? Wouldn't it be better, to get your profit target hit, even though it's a smaller profit target than what you were hoping for, at least get that profit target hit, instead of risking, price pulling down and hitting your stop loss and minimizing all that profit that, that you potentially could be losing there. Right? So let me just kind of let me just kind of speed this forward there. So we'll see what happens, right? So that this kind of concludes here. I'm having a hard time grabbing that arrow for some reason. There we go. So there's the first demonstration there, right? Showing, some simple tasks here with the entry orders, just following the ADX VMA. Let me speed this up a little bit, right? And then another simple task there where, we kind of built a smarter profit target, where if price pulls back, to some kind of indicator, whether it's a moving average or a trailing stop type of indicator, if price kind of pulls back, then, then we can look for those conditions and pull your profit target in, right? So, all right, so there's that. And so the next part here, I'm going to talk about what the stop loss was doing here, right? So, you might have noticed that the stop loss was following this super trend indicator, right? That's what the purpose of this indicator is it kind of acts like a, like a stop loss, position there, right? So the stop loss was following it, but there was a gap between it here. And so let me kind of fast forward this quite a bit so I can get ready for this next setup here. And I want to make sure I don't fast forward too much. There we go. Okay, so about 9:30. I'm going to pause this here and I'll go into more detail, about how I set this stop loss up, and what the stop loss is doing here. And of course, and this stop loss part, as Keith had mentioned, came from a customer question in those training workshops that I do every week. Right. So there's some good ideas, from other traders that show up in those training workshops there. Let's see here. All right, are we almost there? Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to speed this up a little bit longer here. Let's get into a short here. And let's get this order filled so we can actually see a stop loss, and I can start talking about that stop loss there. All right, so just a few more seconds, and then price will pick this order up. So, again, that limit order is just simply following the ADX VMA, waiting for this little pullback in price. There we go. Okay, now we slow this down. There. All right, let's grab a little arrow here, right? So you'll notice that there is a gap here between the stop loss and the super trend indicator. And that was intentional, coming from, this customer idea. And the purpose of this is, if you've ever kind of played around with these kind of trailing stop loss type of indicators, or if you've just traded in general, everybody's had a stop loss hit, by one of these wicks on a bar, right? You know, price just loves to go stop loss hunting. And so with this, yeah, so with, you know, so with these type of trading stop loss indicators here, you know, just like, you know, with anything in trading, you know, one of the, you know, things that traders don't like to see is something like this, where price comes down, hits your stop loss to the tick, you know, hits your stop loss, and then the market takes off without you, right? So this customer was trying to, you know, he was thinking of a way, you know, how can we prevent these tails, you know, these wicks from hitting your stop loss and then taking off without you. You know, so he was asking, you know, in the workshop, you know, can we offset the stop loss, you know, away from the super trend, right? So we can see here, let me grab another arrow, sorry. There. So, you know, so we can see, so the idea was, yeah, you know, offset the stop loss. So that way wicks, you know, wicks can't take your stop loss out. But, you know, but we don't want to take this larger stop loss, right? So obviously pushing the stop loss further away means it's a larger stop loss for a bigger loss. So how do we, you know, so how can we, you know, get the best of both worlds? You know, prevent your stop loss from getting hit, but also minimizing that stop loss distance here. So what this stop loss has been programmed to do is it's going to look for price to cross the super trend line here. So let's see here. Yeah, I don't have a great example right now, but you know, if the wick, you know, of the bar is, if one of the wicks of the bar, you know, touches the super trend, no big deal, right? Your stop loss is sitting back. But if price crosses that super trend, if it closes on the other side of the super trend, then that is the condition in which the stop loss has been told, okay, if price crosses on the other side, then that's our situation where we would just want to close out the trade, right? So in other words, pull that stop loss in, you know, act like your stop loss would have gotten hit, and pull that stop loss in and just close out the trade that way, right? So that's what's going to happen here. So let me speed this up, and we can just kind of watch this play out here, right? So yeah, so simply put, you know, what we're going to watch this stop loss. It's going to follow the super trend down and down and down, and then eventually price is going to pull back, and it's going to, you know, it's going to play around, you know, it's going to kind of consolidate and dance around the super trend indicator, you know, and our stop loss is safe if price does that. But as soon as price closes on the other side of the super trend, then that is our key, where we just want to close out that trade, you know, and just pull that stop loss in, close out that trade, you know, and we're done, right? We're out of the trade there. So, and again, I pushed this profit target way out because I didn't want the profit target to get hit, because otherwise that would kind of ruin my demonstration here. So let's see here. So at 10:08, yeah, is when our little example is going to happen here. So let's speed this up just a tad bit more. There. And you know, the playback connection, you know, is a great tool that NinjaTrader built for testing your ideas. And there we go. Shoot, sorry, I didn't slow it down fast enough. I was too busy talking. But you know, but we've got the trade markers and lines here, so we can kind of see what happened here, right? So as price came up right there, right, we can see price didn't quite close on the other side. And even right here, this bar here was a perfect example, right? So price, you know, did go on the other side, but it actually closed down, right, below the super trend. So price closed down. So that, you know, so that basically protected us, from our stop loss potentially getting taken out early. So the stop loss didn't close out on this bar. It was the next bar here, this up bar, this green up bar. So we can see price finally, the close of the bar finally closed on the wrong side of the super trend. And as soon as that happened, then BlackBird said, okay, whoop, time to get out of the trade. That's our condition. Price went, closed on the wrong side of the super trend. So get out of the trade. And there we can see, so the trade was closed out. And, and as we can see, we actually did get a better, stop fill than if we just kept our stop loss way back up here, right? So, yeah. So there you go. So there was the three kind of conditions here, and again, these are just kind of very simple, set of rules here, to make a smarter profit target and a smarter stop loss here. So let me open up BlackBird here, and we'll take a peek under the hood here, right? So the order settings button down here, this is how you open up the custom and unique interface here for BlackBird. So let's start with the entry order here, right? So with the entry order, we're going to go to the trailing actions, right? So this is where you set up your trailing rules. So this is the rule here where I simply told BlackBird, okay, have my limit order follow the ADX VMA here, right? Real simple to set that up. And then on the profit target side, right? So our profit target, as you saw, it starts off as at a 7 ATR, right? And normally, if you're using NinjaTrader's ATM, or if you're just kind of trading your own discretionarily and just kind of manually setting your orders out there, right? Typically, right, profit targets, you never move them. You just kind of hope for the best and, hope that your profit target gets hit. So now if I go into the trailing actions, this is where, I set up that smart, intelligent rule here that's going to pull my profit target in, when the super trend U11 is touched by price. And so what makes BlackBird so powerful is these trigger conditions, right? So it just took a very simple trigger conditions where, I want to compare price to an indicator, right? So I want to see, did the price of the bar, close or touch the super trend indicator? And if it does, well, then pull that profit target in. So this is the action here is what sets the new price for that profit target. And we're done. Very simple, easy to set up there. And then the stop loss, this one is a little more complex because we have two things going on here, right? So the first rule is, well, we want to trail the super trend. So we have one trailing rule here that's set up so that the stop loss follows that super trend. And then what made this, stop loss a little smarter, right, is, right, the stop loss was offset from the super trend, but then also this stop loss is monitoring price to see, is, let's see, where is it? Scroll down here, there we go. Did price, we're monitoring price. Does price close on the other side of the super trend? Like so. And if it does, well, then just flatten the position, right? Close out that trade. So, yeah, so there we go. So those, that was some simple ideas, to that hopefully, depending on your trading style, these might help you out, benefit your trading there. So, and then also, I wanted to kind of demonstrate building one of those trailing rules for you real quick so you can see. So, so let's say, let's take this ADX indicator, for example, here, right? You'll notice, I think the reason why people like this a lot is, right? It shows you trends, right? So we can see, obviously, when the moving average is coming down, it's red. When price starts to consolidate, right, this ADX-VMA goes flat, and it turns, either gold or gray. I have it gray here. And then when the market starts trending upwards again, right, the ADX turns blue again. So let's say, instead of waiting for, so maybe you don't want to wait for, price to come and touch the super trend. Maybe your idea is, well, what if this moving average goes flat, right? And so we see this gray, and it turns gray or gold, whatever color you got set to, and it goes flat like that, So maybe you want to implement that as your condition to say, hey, it's time to pull in that profit target, because the moving average is kind of flattened out, meaning price is consolidating for a little bit. So if we want to implement that into our profit target here, so I'll just open up the profit target. We're going to add another trading rule here. And so let's give this a name here. So we're going to pull the profit target on the ADX-VMA going flat, right? So there's a little descriptive name there to kind of help remind you what your trailing rules are doing here. So now in the trigger here, what we're going to do is we're going to use an indicator value here, and we'll see why in just a moment here. And this is also going to kind of illustrate why these lizard trader indicators are just so brilliantly programmed. Fat Tails puts a lot of thought into when he programs his indicators here. So I'm going to go into the indicators here. We're going to select that ADX-VMA. So it's inside the lizard indicators folder. And there it is. There's our ADX-VMA indicator. And what you'll notice here, what's unique about BlackBird is it can read other outputs from indicators other than plots, right? So the only thing you can see on a chart is plots. But this ADX-VMA has a trend output. So this trend can tell, software like BlackBird, whether the indicator is in a downtrend, whether it's flat, or whether it's blue and in an uptrend. So we're going to look at this trend data series here. And if that trend equals 0, then we know it's flat, right? So that trend is going to be 0 when it's flat. So we're going to look for that 0 value on that trend here. So we want that trend to be equal to 0, right? And so when that is true, then over here in actions, we're going to move our profit target. And so what should we do here? So let's, so for this kind of example here, what we'll do is I'll take the value of the ADX-VMA and just add a couple of ticks offset to it, right? So let's see here. So we're going to change the mode over to indicator value. And then we're going to select our ADX-VMA like so. So we're going to take, the value of the ADX-VMA plot here on the chart, and then I'll set that set the profit target a couple of ticks above it here, right? So so you can set any kind of tick offset you want from an indicator. Pretty simple here. So if you wanted to just go for a couple of ticks above that ADX-VMA, then there we go. And that's all it took, right? Just two components needed to be set up. And now, we have a new condition, for our intelligent profit target here, so that if the ADX-VMA goes flat, then pull that profit target in, and hopefully, we can get some profit out of that. So that really is how simple it is to kind of take your ideas and implement them into either your profit targets or your stop loss or even your entry orders. So people usually are don't give this much mind. Most people have just been kind of, going with the status quo and thinking that, oh, you just set a profit target and you set profit target, set a stop loss, and just kind of hope for the best. But with BlackBird, we really want to implement, more intelligent trade management, so that way you can let the software do a lot of the work for you, automatically. And that way you can stay kind of more focused, on what the markets are doing and things like that, right? So if you've ever traded, it takes a lot of focus, especially if you're trying to watch several charts at the same time. It creates a lot of tremendous focus that you need to do. And so if you're in a trade, it's definitely can be very helpful to kind of have something like BlackBird manage your trade for you, and help take some of that strain, off of your trading there. So, all right. Yeah. So basically that kind of concludes my little demonstration, for those guys, for those people out there that haven't seen BlackBird and kind of want a little taste of what it can do. So, and yeah, so with that, let me kind of turn it over to back over to Keith, and we'll get started with the rest of the webinar.
Very cool, awesome, Zach. Thank you very much for that demonstration. Very, very useful for anyone who hasn't really seen much of BlackBird yet. I wanted to make a comment. You kind of said, most people trade kind of following, what you said, like the status quo, or in my mind, kind of like just going by your instincts, and that works well, especially if you're an experienced trader. You just kind of follow your instincts. But a lot of people don't really think through why they're doing what they're doing. They just kind of, they follow what's worked pretty well for them in the past, and maybe it can be profitable, but they haven't really built a proper system even in their own head. And then they start to test these things and realize that they've been leaving a lot of possibilities on the table. And what's always been really cool to me is that BlackBird kind of forces you to take a step back and think, like, why am I actually doing this? Why am I taking trades here? Why am I moving my stops? And it kind of forces you to become a better trader, because it makes you think through, every step of the way. I like that. I like being kind of made to become a little better. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for that. Let's bring on Jeremy Tang. He is our fearless leader. He's the founder of Shark Indicators and the lead developer. He built all of this. We wanted to bring him on just to make sure, kind of get him connected with you guys. Any questions that you have, really want to say thank you for bringing in all your Q&A questions. If you haven't asked anything yet, there's a Q&A box, a little button, I believe at the bottom of your window, it might be at the top, that you can ask any questions for us to address in the next few minutes. So Jeremy, if you want to unmute your mic and come on in.
All right, thanks, Keith. Yeah, I just want to first of all thank everybody for coming today and taking your time out of your day to check out BlackBird. And really, we kind of put this on because we figured we usually get a lot of interest around this time of year, as you can imagine, because of the Black Friday sale that we run, and a lot of people that haven't had the opportunity to actually try BlackBird before, or even see or know what it's about. We thought we'd kind of get ahead of get ahead of the game and show the product, so you guys have a better idea and you can actually try it out before the you got some time before the end of Black Friday. So again, I want to say that we've been doing this for a number of years now, since 2012, and really we wouldn't be here without you guys. And so I really do want to make kind of a heartfelt thank you for you guys, your support, all the loyal customers that have throughout the years have seen us grow and have supported us and given us great suggestions for changing the product and improving it. Because really that's kind of what gets us out of bed every morning, is building these great tools. We're all very passionate about it, the entire team. And believe me, we have I'm not being biased, we've definitely heard a lot of compliments. Our team is, I couldn't be happier in terms of just the amount of dedication and passion that the team members of Shark Indicators has. We've all been at it for many, many years now. So, and we just continue to do, we continue to do what we do because of you guys. So, anyways, before I keep rambling on, let's why don't we just start looking at the questions here, and pick them off one by one here.
We've got a great first question here from Richard. Which is definitely a very common question for someone who's new to BlackBird here, which is, is the stop loss adjustable? And if so, to what increments? And so, kind of sounds like Richard might be familiar with some other strategies out there, that claim to be flexible. But, we can guarantee that BlackBird is the most flexible strategy out there, to date. So to answer the question about the flexibility here, so if I open up my stop loss here, there's lots of ways that you can set up your stop loss. Really, the sky is almost the limit here, as to what you can do. So this stop loss here, in my little demonstration, it started off, as you can see by the name here, it started off as a 3 ATR, right? So if you're using an indicator to set your stop loss, well, what happens if the indicator is on the wrong side of the market? So you shouldn't initially set your stop loss based on an indicator. You should just kind of do some kind of a fixed offset, and then move your stop loss to that indicator, provided the indicator is on the right side of the market for you, right? So sometimes these trailing stop loss indicators, they're on the wrong side of the market when you want to get into a trade. So, but to answer Richard's question here, as far as stop losses, you can just do a simple tick offset, or you can use an indicator like an ATR and create an ATR based, variable volatility based, type of stop loss, or if I wanted to, I could just convert it and just say, I want this to be a simple 20 tick stop loss there. Or again, if I wanted to, we could use an indicator, so if you have some kind of indicator, that's always going to be on the right side of the market when you're trading, then you can plug in any kind of indicator in here. So we can actually see the ADX VMA is in there right now. Right. So with those two options, basically that kind of opens up, to almost a limitless possibility of how you can set your stop loss up, for your particular trading style there. So,
and that's just that's exactly Jackson's just showing the initial placement. But beyond that, there's actually, so I think Richard is actually asking if it's adjustable in terms of can you move it around after it's been placed on. So there's a lot of arbitrary trading rules that you can put into, you can program onto the stop loss, so you can actually move them, for example, in accordance to an indicator, and you can actually have them move on specific conditions, and those conditions can be pretty complicated, as complex or as flexible as you want them to be, or they can be as simple as the next tick coming in. So an example could be on every tick, you could update the stop loss's position to the current position of an indicator, plus or minus some certain offset that's also calculated by an indicator value. You could do things like that. Or you could do things where you have that in place, but then a certain condition occurs, and then you change it up, and then the stop loss can jump around and move in some other fashion. It's incredibly flexible what's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another question that people usually ask is, can I take over control of my stop loss or profit target? Can I manually intervene into it? And yeah, absolutely. These flags, you can just grab them with your mouse and drag them around, into any spot you want there. So, and then, I've also got the order monitor open here. So this gives you, a real-time feedback as to, the status of your orders here. And so if you have a trailing stop loss and you decide you want to manually intervene and move your stop loss away, what that does is that turns off the auto trailing here. So you can see my auto trailing is turned off because I manually grabbed that. And so then whenever you're ready and you want to enable the trailing again automatically, all you need to do is just turn the auto trailing back on. And then as soon as this bar closes, the stop loss will move back up and start trailing again here, right? So since the stop loss is attached to an indicator, the stop loss is going to update when the bar closes and the indicator updates there. So a lot of flexibility built in there. So, all right.
And don't be too daunted by the complexity of it. Like it's one of the, we specifically built it so that it's very easy to sort of pick up. But then there's a lot of layers that if you want to really dig deep and you want to add complexity, it'll go with you. But if you just want something simple, it's quite trivial to just set something up incredibly fast. And on top of that, as Zach mentioned before, there are training workshops, a lot of documentation, that sort of thing. That kind of leads into Michael's question. Actually, this I think is a good segue. If there's basically custom templates that are already built out of the box that he may be able to use, or you guys may be able to use to use as an example. And so we do have actually a separate product, which will also be on sale during the Black Friday sale. And so actually, Zach, if you don't mind, maybe Zach is just quickly showing you how easy it is to set up a very simple, this is almost like a template, if you will, but you can see that drop down.
Great. Yeah. Let me just kind of show you what's comes in the product here to start with is, we call this a quick list, right? So when you click on your profit target, there's the three standard, profit target type of settings, a tick offset, ATR, or using a swing high, swing low indicator, right? And then with the stop loss, again, a bunch of very commonly used stop losses, right? A tick based, ATR based. Again, let's see, previous bar, highs and lows of a bar, right? So a lot of traders like to use the low of the bar with some kind of offset. The parabolic SAR, which comes with NinjaTrader. Unfortunately, the super trend doesn't come with NinjaTrader, so we didn't include it here. But the parabolic SAR comes with NinjaTrader. So that would be an indicator-based trailing stop loss. But and these are just fixed here. And then there's a trailing section here. So if you want to pull in the trailing version there, so there's a quick, so we just call this the quick list there to get you started.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt there, buddy. I meant to actually quickly add, like those are actually examples. So you can click on it and it configures BlackBird to that configuration, but it doesn't mean it's set in stone. So you can click on it. So if you go ahead and just click on there, you can show it. You can drop it, open it up, and then you can go and customize it from there. And so, in a sense, that is almost like a template. So you can go and fiddle with it and customize the actual settings from there. So if you don't want 10 ticks, for example, Zach's just putting it down to 20 ticks. You can very quickly change it up, and you can see how you can set these things up and then modify them with just a few clicks of the button.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So all these, everything in here everything is absolutely 100% configurable to your, trading practices. Again, we understand that you guys, if you've ever taken a look at other companies, products for trading, it is canned. Some of them do have some flexibility built into them, but they all have their limits, but BlackBird really doesn't have any limits here. You can go in here and adjust everything, as you see fit for your trading style there. Yeah. And then the other thing, let's see, Jeremy, if you want to talk about the management packs here, I'll bring this up.
Yeah, go ahead. bring up the management packs. This is again Michael's question relating to if there's sort of stuff out of the box that you can use. And so we do sell trade management packs. We put a lot of work in, or I didn't put a lot. Zach and Mike put a lot of work into these trade management packs. So they're pre-built templates that you can use out of the box, and they serve as incredible examples to set up some pretty complicated stuff, and lots of documentation involved there as well. But go ahead, yeah, just open up maybe one of these. They can take a look.
Yeah, the Keltner is a pretty good example because it has a little animation on there that shows the stops kind of following. If you scroll down a little bit, the stops sort of following the Keltner channel. So it's got a variety of Keltner-related examples, depending on your risk tolerance and your style of trading.
And of course, those are also completely configurable as well. You just load them up, and then you can go to town with whatever customizations you want with them.
Yeah, which fits well with what Michael was asking, because he was asking about a template that's ready to use with the option to adjust. And that's exactly the type of person we built these for, because they're completely unlocked, so you can play with them, kind of think of them as like an advanced example. So, and actually you can see kind of the regular price peeking out there of just the Keltner pack, right? That is definitely not the price that we're doing in the next 2 weeks. So if you are looking at the Black Friday page, there is a link on there to get all the packs together for even less than just this one's regular price.
Okay. David's asking if we're going to have a webinar show BloodHound. Well, we didn't really plan on it this time, but maybe what we could do, David, is if we do have past webinars that we did a BloodHound, certainly we could.
Jeremy, I was thinking when I saw his question, sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking maybe we might want to encourage David to join this Thursday's workshop, BloodHound workshop. So Zach splits them up between BloodHound and BlackBird each week. He's got 2 workshops, and maybe Zach could sort of focus that workshop for new users, sort of give some good examples, good demonstration of BloodHound as a tool, rather than going into some extremely advanced examples, which he can do depending on what types of questions we get. So maybe David, you could join us this Thursday. What do you think, Zach?
Keith, let me interrupt you there, because this particular David is a very active user in the workshop.
I knew I recognized his name.
That's why I'm laughing. It's kind of like David's priming the pump or something. I don't know, because David's in the BloodHound workshops all the time. So
okay, I knew I recognized his last name. Yeah. Okay. Well, for anyone else who's curious, join us on Thursdays. We got a great workshop.
Cool. Okay. Elizabeth, what is the difference between BlackBird, BloodHound, and when is the relationship between those, and what is the relationship between those and Shark and NinjaTrader? So I'll start with Shark and NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader is the platform which will sort of connect your computer to the broker. It provides the data. It also provides the charts. Our tools, that's us from Shark Indicators, we provide sort of supercharged tools for NinjaTrader, if you will, that enhance your trading, kind of takes it to sort of the next level. And essentially, in NinjaTrader, you kind of indicators, you kind of strategies. Indicators are just sort of painted on the chart, and they just give you some sort of information about what's happening. Yeah. Whereas a strategy will actually manage orders, put orders on, enable you to backtest, do all those other things that are sort of related to actual trading rather than just visualization, if you will. And so BlackBird is a strategy and BloodHound is an indicator. And they're both what we would call programmable. Not in the sense that you actually have to code them, but they're programmable in terms of they're configurable so that you express kind of your trading methodology and use your philosophies, your trading methodologies, and express that using our tools so that you can paint up the chart the way you like it to be painted, or B, in the case of that case would be BloodHound, or B, in the case of a strategy using BlackBird, manage the orders and enter in trades how you see fit.
Yeah, the way a lot of people view these two tools is sort of splitting them up into step 1 and step 2, right? So BloodHound for many people is step 1, deciding when you plan to get in the trade. That's why it's for creating your trade signals. So if you visited our site, you might have seen at least screenshots where you see those nice, clear, visual red and green signals. So those come from telling BloodHound, here are the criteria, here are the rules for when I want to see a signal, a long or a short signal. So that's step 1, deciding when you're probably going to enter the trade. Step 2 is, okay, now that I'm in the trade or know when I'm going to get in, what happens during the trade? And that's BlackBird. So BlackBird is what we've demonstrated here today, and that is managing the trade, deciding in advance, okay, what are the rules for when I'm going to get in, where my stops are going to start, how my stops and profit targets are going to move based on the rules that I give it. What are the rules for my money management? Like you can set things like how much max profit do I want to take for the day before I get out and stay out. There are rules that kind of let you sort of decide your own risk tolerance there during the trade. So BloodHound is create the signals. BlackBird is actually manage the trade. A lot of people own one or the other, but they work very well together because BlackBird can also use the signals coming from BloodHound to enter automatically. So I know that's a lot of information, and these are both very powerful products. So when you get them both, go into it knowing there's plenty to learn, but they're both very easy to approach, and our support and our workshops help kind of make that much easier to kind of get into. So go slowly, but know that you can do a lot with these things.
And let me just kind of add my 2 cents of a technical speak here for those who are more technically minded. So the way all charting platforms are designed is you have 2 classes, and so this is not just Ninja Trader. This is both TradeStation, TD Ameritrade, and any of the other multi-charts, and any of the other trading platforms out there. You have an indicator class, right, which are basically mathematical formulas, right? For the most part, moving averages, super trends, stochastics, the MACD, those are all mathematical formulas. So indicators are doing the math behind the scenes. And so BloodHound, being an indicator, it's doing the math behind the scenes to generate the trade signals, or actually BloodHound's looking for the conditions that says, this is the conditions you are looking for as a trader, and so they're met. And so here, here's your long signal or here's your short signal. And then the other component within all trading software is the strategy class. And the strategies is what allows you to build automated trading systems. That is the main purpose of strategies here. And so strategies control orders, right? So an indicator cannot place an order. Only strategies can place an order. So what you do is you take your indicators, build them into a strategy, and then your strategy is typically used as an automated trading system, right? So that's the kind of the technical answer behind things, right? So that's why BlackBird is managing the orders here, because it's a strategy. And then BloodHound is what would be used to generate the trade signals when your conditions, are found on the chart. So, all right, I think we can, move on to the next question here. Let's see. Bill is asking, can we demonstrate BloodHound and building an indicator? Bill, or for anybody else, if you guys can hang around at the end of this webinar, I'd be glad to, but we'd like to kind of stay focused on BlackBird, instead of kind of switching topics on everybody else. So so Bill, we'll hold your question there towards the end, and hopefully you can hang around afterwards. And let's see, it looks like Franz has a question here. Let's see, Franz would like to get, Franz, I guess you're asking for a copy of this BlackBird template. So as always, we definitely our current customers love watching these webinars, looking for a new juicy piece of information here. So yeah, so this BlackBird file here, I've saved it out, and we'll make it available so you guys with the with BlackBird, for everybody who owns BlackBird, you guys will be able to download this here if you want. So you can also, again, as always, there, Franz, you can always email our support email address. Just ask us for today's BlackBird, Black Friday. So I called this the Black Friday Q&A demo. So you can just email us and ask us for this, and we'll get this BlackBird file back to you guys and anybody else who wants it as well. So
now,
again,
Zach, it does work with
guys,
lizard trader indicators, right?
Yep, that's what I'm going to say. Yep, just want to remind you guys, you do need these two lizard trader indicators. That's why I specifically brought them up at the beginning of the demonstration. That you'll need to download them from either Futures.io or from Lizard Trader directly. Right. So,
cool. That is a sort of touches on it. If you're brand new to us, if you've been in the BloodHound world, you probably know this very well. But our stuff does support third-party indicators, which really expands kind of what it can do. So he demonstrated, lots of examples of that today. But a lot of people ask us, can it work with my third-party indicator? And almost every time the answer is yes. Very rare that the answer is no. But, yeah.
The rare exceptions typically are those indicators that are designed in such a way that they're not sharing data, and so we can't actually read them.
Pretty rare, but it does happen.
Yeah. Okay. Tariq, hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Just comments, as a trial member, I could say both BloodHound and BlackBird are extremely powerful tools. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the
that's
comment.
Definitely what we're striving for, and it's always nice. It's always nice when we hopefully can reach your expectation on at least in terms of what you'd like to do there.
So David's asking, which vendor or vendors rely on your shark indicators the most? Yeah, so let's see. I would say that would be JATS, which is J Auto Trading Strategies, and Remic. So let's see here. Yeah, so let's open up. Let's go to the vendors page here.
Yeah, Trade the Plan is awesome. Uses a fair
yeah,
bit.
Yeah, Trade the Plan uses BloodHound a lot. Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, so Remic. His stuff is based on BloodHound and BlackBird. And then also J Auto Trading Strategies there. So those two are the most heavily embedded, with BloodHound and BlackBird there. So, but all of these guys, do implement BloodHound and or BlackBird in some kind of way. And yeah, there's Lizard Trader. Again, Lizard Trader is the original author, for the ADX VMA and the super trend indicator that I have on my chart here.
Okay.
All right, let's see. What's next?
Tariq's got Tariq. That's right. It's got another question there. Do you have an example on price trapping strategies, order entries, and profit targets between? I'm guessing that's limit market, right? Stop order. Is that he's talking about the exits there? Is that what stop orders, or is that the entries he's talking about? Order entries and profit.
It's I'm not sure, but Tariq, it kind of sounds like you're asking about creating kind of like a breakout entry order type system here.
I'll just quickly state that you can use any kind of order entry type. You can use limit orders, stop entry orders, that sort of thing. You can certainly put those in there, and you can actually move those around as well on the fly.
Yeah. So so there's all the available order types here. for entries. So, yep. But specifically, as far as setting up OCO entry orders in opposite directions, yeah, that's not implemented into BlackBird quite yet. So that's kind of one of the things on our drawing board, for further down the road. But for now, yeah, BlackBird's set up to pick a directional bias there and get into the trade that way. All right, let's see what else we got. Looks like Elizabeth is up next here. So Elizabeth says she owns a lot of indicators. Let's see.
Yeah, just basically, she owns a lot of indicators and doesn't want to.
Have to buy them again, right?
TOS indies. For Thinkorswim.
Oh, TOS, Thinkorswim. Yes, good catch. Yeah. So yeah, she doesn't want to purchase the indicators for Thinkorswim again. So the question is, does BloodHound or BlackBird work on other platforms? So no, sorry, Elizabeth. Really, Thinkorswim is not flexible enough for us to port our software over to Thinkorswim, unfortunately. So yeah, we're currently just on the NinjaTrader platform.
I think I'll add, though, in general, a lot of the indicators for NinjaTrader are definitely the more complex type, if you will, like Thinkorswim, from what I recall, and it's been a while. Forgive me if I may not be correct anymore, but at least when I was looking at the ecosystem there, a lot of the indicators were very simplistic in terms of being developed, or from development. From a development perspective, I should say. And so there's a lot more advanced stuff on NinjaTrader, and I would be willing to bet a fair bit of the indicators that are on that you may have purchased and spent money on Thinkorswim are actually just available for free on NinjaTrader. Just given us a pretty big community of developers that have built a lot of NinjaTrader indicators. A lot of them are on futures.io. And the only thing that's required there is actually a Futures.io membership. If you go there are just a ton of free indicators on there. I'd be willing to bet that a vast majority of the indicators that you actually purchased on Thinkorswim may actually be available free, just on this one forum. That's where a lot of developers tend to post their stuff for NinjaTrader.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very least, it'd be worth a look.
Yeah. And then also, NinjaTrader support also, Elizabeth, they're very good at, helping customers out, trying to find indicators, from one platform to see if it's available on NinjaTrader as well. So you could also contact NinjaTrader support, the support team. They have a huge support team. So yeah, I would think if you kind of provide them a list of the indicators that you really want, and email it into NinjaTrader support, somebody over there can probably help you see if there's a free version available or just if there's another version available somewhere. So
yeah, and if you have a third-party indicator and you're not really sure if it's going to work with BloodHound, try it out. And if you need advice on how to test your third-party indicators, you can always contact us. We can give you some advice.
All right, let's see. Next question here. We got quite we got just a handful more questions to get through here. Good. So Tariq is commenting that especially likes the auto chase feature on market if touched. So yeah, that's kind of one of the next round of enhancements we're going to add to BlackBird. There's that market if touched. So that'll be coming. And let's see, Gerard. we have anything related to VWAP and your customizable templates? Let's see. Well, yeah, Gerard, we're not really one of those kind of supermarkets of indicators. You know, we're not. Yeah, we're not just one of those big box indicator stores. We have a very focused line of products here, and it's really just BloodHound and BlackBird. You know, we stay focused on our core products here. So no, for us, we don't have those kind of run-of-the-mill indicators like a VWAP or anything like that, unfortunately. Let's see, what am I trying to do here? Yeah, I'm just trying to bring up our website here. Yeah, so if we go to products here, yeah, BlackBird and BloodHound, those are our two flagship products there. And we don't have any really just run-of-the-mill indicators. So there are a couple of free indicators that come with BloodHound, just to help BloodHound out. You know, so like if we open up the indicators list here, you know, let's see here. Yeah, there's a swings, highs, and lows. So definitely, you know, when you're system building, you definitely need a better swing point indicator. You know, Ninja swing indicator, you know, isn't all the way there for system design. So yeah, so we've got a better swing, size, lows indicator, and a swing trend, which really these two indicators are kind of piggyback on top of each other. Yeah, that's kind of really it. Let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, just a couple of miscellaneous other tools here, but yeah, that's it. So. All right, let's see what else, other questions we have here.
All right, Michael again. Can I add AI to exit strategy, meaning multiple code triggers if the market changes? Absolutely, you could program the all sorts of arbitrary triggers, and you don't have any limit in terms of number of triggers you want to sort of change it up on the fly. Like I said, it's incredibly powerful. Maybe Zach, you can just kind of give them a glimpse of kind of what's possible there in terms of the customization. But yeah, so you can add any number of arbitrary trading rules. Each one of these trading rules has a trigger. These triggers can also be stacked and sort of combined. But you have certain things like, you know, maybe an order changes its status, price does something versus an indicator, and your indicator value changes in a certain way that you're looking at it. There's a particular delay involved. Maybe there's a profit or loss target you're hitting. Perhaps there's a trade signal that's been triggered. Or even if you have BloodHound, you can use BloodHound's very powerful signal generator engine, which is also incredibly customizable as well. You can pipe those in as triggers as well. So like you have a tremendous amount of flexibility and control in terms of what you want to actually use to what do you call it? Yeah, to trigger a new action, or a set of actions, if you will.
So yeah, so to get, I guess, a little detail here. Yeah, so Michael, if you have some kind of AI indicator that's, you know, telling you when you should be exiting a position here, you know, so you can take one of these triggers here, the indicator value, and you can plug your AI type of indicator right into this trailing rule, you know, and so when your indicator, you know, gives you some kind of output value, you know, you can look for that, and then that would be your triggering condition to flatten the position there.
I think Michael's referring to the triggers themselves.
Yeah. So I kind of illustrate, right? I've got 3 different triggers here, you know, so you can keep, or not triggers, trailing rules. So you can add as many trailing rules as you want, you know, to make that more complete, you know, AI type of concept there that you're going for. Yeah, so there's no limit to the number of trailing rules here that you can have. So, And yeah, so typically, if you really are trying to build some complex logic, for your exit strategy, for an exit condition there, most likely you're probably going to use BloodHound to do that there. So you can see, we've got BloodHound. Again, for those who don't know, BloodHound is an indicator, right, where you can design, condition finding abilities there. So you can, and then you can hook that BloodHound signal right into BlackBird, and that would be your, signaling condition to exit the trade there. So, and the same goes if you're building an auto trader, right? If you provide trade signals to BlackBird, then that is, right, that's the main key to building an auto trader, right, is to hook in your trade signals. So again, right, you can take the BloodHound signals and hook them right into BlackBird, or some other third-party indicator. I know I keep using the example, Indicator Warehouse has their DTS system, right? And one of those components is an indicator that generates trade signals. And so you can hook that, an indicator like that. And E-mini Sniper used to have an indicator, they still may have an indicator that used to generate trade signals, that you could hook into a strategy here. So again, you could, take an indicator like that, tie it into BlackBird. And then once you have your signals tied in, then BlackBird could become an auto trader like that. And so to give you an example here, so if you're using BloodHound, there's two things. You have your entry signals, and then you also can plug in exit signals, right? So BlackBird, is doing, gives you the ability to do both. You can provide signals that tell you to enter into a trade, and signals that tell you to exit the trade or flatten in trade there. Whichever you want to do there. Right? So, if you wanted to, you could just use the exit component like that, and so you could then, use the chart, chart control, the chart trade controls there to manually, and discretionarily get into a trade, and then let your, AI exit signals get you out of the trade. So again, yeah, our goal is to try and make things as flexible as possible. All right, so I think that covers Michael's question.
Okay. Do we need BloodHound to use your pre-programmed BlackBird strategies? No, the answer is no. You don't need BloodHound for that.
No, I mean, what I demonstrated to you was I manually had to hit the go long and go short button, so I manually got into a trade there. As we can see, this actually, let me cancel this so I don't save any of that. So yeah, so I don't have any trade signals in my demonstration today. It's just, I was just demonstrating, order management here, and so I could use either the trade controls here, or I could use the dynamic planner here. Let me pause this here. So if I wanted to, with the dynamic planner, what this gives you is a preview. But so even though you see order flags, those are not live order flags. If you'll notice, they're a little translucent, right? So that translucent means that you're in a planning stage. So that way you can see in advance, before you get into a live trade, you can see in advance where your profit target would be, and where your profit target would be, and where your stop loss would be. And you can go in here and manually manipulate these and move them around as you see fit before executing the trade, right? So once you have your profit targets and your stop loss and your entry placed where you want them, then you can see there's a big blue execute button, and that execute button will then convert that into a live order. So there's some various ways that you can yeah, do some manual, discretionary type trading there. So, and we have more ideas to add to this here that are going to be forthcoming to improve discretionary trading and make it easier and quicker there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That was a good question there, Bill. Yeah, we get asked that question quite a bit there. Yeah, I guess the point is that we want to emphasize is that, again, our tools don't try to lock you in to any style of trading. Our tools here, we're always trying to improve them to make them flexible for all styles of trading, whether you're price action based, discretionarily based, or you want a semi-auto, auto trade, or you want to do a full auto trading. Our BlackBird and BloodHound are there to kind of cover, both or all three aspects of trading. All right, so what do we have next, Jeremy?
All right, we got Elizabeth again. Asking about showing how to backtest with BlackBird, how far you can go back, paper money, and to ensure it's working properly. So actually, Elizabeth, you're probably it sounds like you're new to NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader has a couple different kind of built-in backtesting tools that we actually take advantage of as well. But built into the to the platform is something called Market Replay, which allows you to actually do full on almost like forward testing using past data, if that makes sense. It's like you start trading. You're trading a historical part of the market as if it was real time, so you can connect to that and it'll simulate that. But beyond that, it does traditional back testing as well, using something called the strategy analyzer, which you can hook BlackBird into. So maybe you could, or you can just put right onto your chart and you can go far back as you
right. Yeah. So just to kind of draw some distinctions here, the back testing is all built into NinjaTrader. So BlackBird doesn't actually do the back testing. Think of BlackBird as the front end, and then NinjaTrader actually has the back testing engine built into it. Right. So
and actually, I just want to just address one quick thing. I noticed at the end of your question, you asked what kind of results your members are getting with the system, your system, and back testing. Again, that's going to vary completely upon the actual system you're trading. Like as Zach sort of mentioned before, our software does not force you to trade any particular trade system per se. So I think the easiest way to describe our software, if you're familiar with say Adobe Photoshop, just kind of ubiquitous, like with photo editing, right? Imagine you're an artist. Okay, you're the artist. Photoshop is the tool. So in other words, there's no kind of button you could or pre-built artwork that's sort of just done for you. Instead, as an artist, you use Photoshop to express your artistic talent to create the artwork, and that's essentially what our tools are like. You're as a trader, you're like the artist, and the canvas essentially is our software, and you can use our tools to construct and create your own trade system. And so, as you can imagine, it's incredibly varied, just as artwork is incredibly varied between different artists. Your trade systems and your trade methodology and therefore your results will vary tremendously from trader to trader depending on what kind of trade system you're trading. So we have all sorts of different types of traders, and even those kinds of traders have different styles of trading. It's in terms of like whether they like discretionary trading or automated trading. We don't force you to do either or. You could be anywhere along that spectrum as well. Maybe you're a breakout trader. Maybe you're like a trend trader or a scalper. There's all sorts of different styles, and we certainly don't force you to trade any type of particular way. Instead, the idea is you take your style, your personal style, what you're comfortable with, what you're comfortable in terms of risk, and then you create your own trade systems kind of built off your personality.
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, to do any back testing, you need one very critical component, which is a trade signal. right? So you will need to, basically provide your own trade signals first before you can do any back testing. So BlackBird itself is not an auto trader. BlackBird needs trade signals here. So that's what this signal section is for up here, is to plug in those trade signals, right? So once you have some trade signals plugged in, then
I'll just want to pipe in one just in case you're confused. So like we did say, BlackBird is also used for discretionary trading. So if you don't have trade signals and you actually just like to enter using your own discretion, you can do that too. It's just that if you want to back test, you do have to, you'd have to have some sort of automated entry.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, and then since Elizabeth is new to NinjaTrader here, just to kind of touch, on the surface here of back testing here, the amount of data you can back test depends on your data feed provider here. But if you pull up the data series here, so if you wanted to back test a year, you just plug in the number of days that you want to back test, and then you download all that data from your data feed. So your chart. So however many days you want to back test, put that on your chart there, right? And then secondly, something that's rarely seen here. Let me go into the strategies window now, and I'm going to add another BlackBird on here. And so if you want to do any back testing in BlackBird, it has this back test mode. So you need to enable the back test mode. But again, as mentioned previously, you need to provide trade signals into BlackBird so that BlackBird knows what it's back testing, what trade signals it's back testing on, like so. So yeah, so with those two components, then you can start doing some back testing. So. All right, let's see, what do we have next here?
Oh yeah, so Tariq, you're asking if you can. I believe you're following up on your previous question, but I think you were asking about like if the entries and or targets can be both moved, and so absolutely both. You can configure your entries and your targets to move kind of arbitrarily, and you can also assign triggers and actions. The full suite of all those things are available to any order, depending it not respective of whether they're an entry or some sort of exit.
Cool. All right, let's see. David is asking, do you need a powerful PC to use BloodHound or BlackBird? That depends on what you're doing with it. So kind of as Jeremy kind of painted this picture here with this Adobe Photoshop example, again, BlackBird is kind of a clean canvas, and BloodHound is a clean canvas. So it all depends on how complex of a system you build with our tools. So really, what requires the most processing is the indicators that you use within BlackBird and or BloodHound. So it all depends on the complexity of your system, the complexity of the indicators that you're using in BloodHound, and just how complex of a system you build. So so that really can't be answered. It's basically kind of a yes and no type of question, depending on what you're building, with BloodHound or BlackBird.
I will say it's not really a concern for most people, but if you've ever seen the type of stuff that Daniel Rowe builds, if you've ever seen some work he's done some pretty complicated stuff, and it still pulls it off just fine. So be mindful of that, but we can't know for sure unless we know exactly what you're building.
Let's see. Franz is asking, show the risk management tool, please. Yeah. So we haven't had this question yet. So BlackBird has this risk management section, a money management section, and a scheduler, right? So that we call these the management settings here, as kind of the names imply here. So for the risk management, actually, let me back step here. So these management settings, currently, they come into effect when you have an auto trader set up, right? So if you hook in your BloodHound or other indicator signals here, right, and you're turning BlackBird into an auto trader here, then that's when the money management, and the schedule, that's when these become relevant, right? So as far as the risk management, what you can do here, and actually my demonstration here was kind of perfect for this type of question here. So let me pull up the plan long here so we can see some orders here, and then open this up here. All right. So what the risk management is doing is if you are basing your stop loss off of an indicator value, or maybe you're basing your profit target off of an indicator value, right? And in my example, both are true. So we can see my profit target is based on an ATR. That's an indicator. My stop loss is also starts with an ATR as well, and that's an indicator. But I could also set my stop loss straight to the super trend. And so when you're utilizing indicators to set your orders, you never know what the risk reward might be, right? Because nobody will be 100% sure as to exactly where's your stop loss indicator going to be and where's your profit target going to be, right? They're always going to be in a state of flux because they're indicators calculating, updating their values on every trade. They're always going to be different, right? So that's what the risk management here is basically. What it's doing is if you're using indicators, you can set a minimum risk reward to risk ratio. So that way, so that way for auto trading, you can make sure that your reward at least meets some kind of minimum standard based on your risk, your stop loss there. And so if your profit target is too close and your stop loss is too far, right, you might want to just skip that trade because your reward to risk ratio is out of alignment, for your type of auto trading system there. So that's really kind of the key reason for the risk management here. But there's also a couple of other things in here. Like for example, if you want to allow your stop losses to widen automatically, right? So traditionally, stop losses always tighten up with the trade. They get tighter and tighter, right? Stop losses, traditionally you never make a stop loss wider. So BlackBird has that kind of built in, that kind of standard practice of making sure that your stop loss never gets wider. But if you want to undo that and reverse that and allow your, so if you want to allow your trailing rules to potentially widen your stop loss, well, you have to consciously and deliberately do that. And so to do that, you would go in here and allow widening of your stop losses during a trade. And that tells BlackBird, okay, you're allowed to move your stop loss, widen it and increase the risk there. So, yeah. And of course, this other little simple one, exit trades when loss exceeds. So another kind of like absolute backstop there. So let's just say, you're not quite sure exactly what your maximum risk might be in a trade. So you can simply set an absolute maximum risk per that trade. And then BlackBird will just get you out, if that loss is hit or exceeded. So.
Cool.
All right. Yeah. So good detailed question there from Franz.
Do you guys have to actually, maybe I was gonna suggest maybe you show moving the dynamic plan around a bit and executing actual trades so we can see.
Sure.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I was just gonna state real quick. So we do have a dynamic planner. This is basically, actually, Zach, you do a pretty good spiel. Maybe I'll let you.
All right. Sure. So the dynamic planner here. I'm trying to make this visible here. There we go. Yeah, you know, that's not to get too off topic, but that's kind of another neat thing about BlackBird is it has this fully customizable, you know, menu system here. So you can pull various parts of the menu off, you know, and tailor this the way you see fit. So with the dynamic planner here, let me get this playback over here. So the point of this is for those type of discretionary kind of swing type traders, you know, that like to use price action, you know, to base their stop loss and profit targets off, right? I mean, this is kind of like one example of who might use the dynamic planner here. You know, so let's say, actually, let's plan a short trade. You know, so let's say, you know, you think here that we might be hitting a double top, and so you might be wanting to take a short here, right? So with the dynamic planner, you know, what you can do is you can manually, you know, adjust where that stop loss is going to go, you know, based on what you're seeing on the chart here. Let's see if I can squeeze this back here. So yeah, I don't really have any historical highs back here to kind of, you know, gauge as a potential resistance level for my stop loss. But, you know, let's say I have more historical data, you know, and you're looking at, you know, all these swing points here to kind of base where you think a safe spot for your stop loss would go, and also where you think a good approximate target would be for your profit target, right? So you can set all this stuff up in this planning stage before executing live, right? So that way you don't have to risk having a live trade on first and then moving your orders around, right? So you can move your orders around first without risking getting into a trade. And then once you have, you know, your stop loss and your profit target and your entry right where you want them, then you can hit the execute button here, right? So you can see the big blue execute button, and that will convert this into a live trade. All right, let me get this back on there. There we go. Oh, actually, let's just reset this there. So it's another neat little convenience component of BlackBird is you can save all your various menu layouts here. So if you have a menu type of display you like, you can save that here and then restore it on the fly. So there we go. There you can see everything's back to the way I had it before. There. Okay. Let's see here. So who's got the next one?
Michael was asking about the back testing again. I believe we covered that already.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. All right. So anonymous. Anonymous. Let's see. Our basic exit strategy is available via Ninja if BloodHound purchased. Our basic exit strategy is available.
Yeah, I think Anonymous is asking kind of if you know, if he doesn't purchase, he or she doesn't purchase BlackBird, is there still ways to trade using BloodHound? And absolutely, we do include a free strategy called Raven with BloodHound, and basically it will let you do some fairly basic stuff with the using BloodHound as a signal generator and as well as an exit generator if you want.
Yeah, so here's Raven. Yeah, so Raven is, as Jeremy mentioned, a free, simple strategy that comes with BloodHound. So you can get some initial testing of your BloodHound idea done. So, you know, so Raven will let you get some basic backtest information done for you. So, but, you know, also at the same time, if you're a simple trader, you know, maybe Raven has enough capabilities to do what you want. You know, but Raven, you know, definitely doesn't have all the complexities that BlackBird does. So we can see here, Raven just has, you know, simple, you can place simple tick-based profit or stop losses. or ATR based profit or stop losses, or percentage. Right. So there you go. So, some simple basic tools, so that you can get some initial backtest data to see if your BloodHound system is kind of going in the right direction. All right, so let's see.
Can a non-BloodHound strategy be a signal provider for BlackBird? And the answer is yes, as long as it's an indicator. I'm assuming you meant indicator, actually. In the indicator that spits out some kind of value that can be read in, and you can set. Yeah, go ahead and click that there, and you can show them kind of how you set that up. But basically, we know there's a lot of third-party signal indicators out there, so you can use those to typically those ones will spit out like a 1 or a -1 for a long trade and -1 for a short trade or something like that. You can fairly easily just set that up in BlackBird.
Yeah, and of course, we don't have other people's trading indicators, so I don't have anything specific I can demonstrate for you. But yeah, you can see here, we can just, so if you have one of those indicators in your, installed in your NinjaTrader, you would just simply go and select it, and select it, and then pull the signals out of it, and then let's see. So for exits, let's see. Non-BloodHound strategies. Okay, yeah. So Drake's is mentioning just strategies in general. Yeah. So from a third-party indicator, you can hook in entry signals, and you could also hook in exit signals as well, right? So if your indicator provides, indications, exit signals, then you can enable that part as well there.
Yeah, we've always had the goal to make it so you don't have to program stuff yourself or hire a programmer to make your own signal generating, indicators. But if you got something advanced that you're working on, definitely supports third-party indicators.
Okay. And we got Bill's question next. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, Bill, about the chart trader panel.
I guess Bill is asking, does Ninja's chart trader convert? Is Ninja's chart trader panel changed when you load Shark indicator stuff? So no, not at all here. Ninja's chart trader is
separate.
Absolutely separate. Yeah. So here, let me.
So what you see on the right there is our custom interface there.
Yeah. So this is not Ninja's chart trader. This is BlackBird's. So so up here, up top here, this is NinjaTrader's chart trader, right? So this is built into the Ninja platform. And so our tools don't modify Ninja's chart trader, right? So if I wanted to, I could turn that on, right? And there you go. And so there's both Ninja's chart trader and then BlackBird, separately. So they are separate components and independent of each other. So, yeah. All right. Cool. That was it for Bill. And that looks like that's it for the BlackBird questions. So let's see. Yeah, I guess now, let's take a look at Bill's first question here. He's asking, can he demonstrate BloodHound and how he can build indicator strategies using different indicators? So sure. Yeah. Now, and I just want to, let everybody else know, who's in the webinar here. If you still have BlackBird questions, please feel free to type your BlackBird questions in, and we'll get those answered here. We're going to give the BlackBird questions a little priority here, but since we've answered all the BlackBird, I'll take the time and demonstrate some simple things within BloodHound here.
And Zach, on the topic of BlackBird, really quick before you do, if you'd be able to bring up the Black Friday sale, just wanted to kind of introduce it to anybody who didn't happen to know we have that going on. I know many of you received an email, but I just wanted to kind of make sure to expose that to anybody who hadn't happened to have seen it.
All right. So there you go. So yeah, so our webpage here, sharkindicators.com. Can't miss that red button right there. It's glowing right in front of your face. So there you go, guys. Black Friday is here. Time to take advantage of some good deals there. Yeah, so we can see Keith has got a BloodHound special going on here, and just a BlackBird, kind of a simple BlackBird deal going on here, and then the big bundle here, both BlackBird and BloodHound together.
And also the 2 bar types.
And the bar types. Yeah, lots of extras there.
And we had a couple people ask questions about maybe getting BlackBird along with those template packs if they're looking for something to kind of get started with, kind of have an example. So Zach, if you want to click buy now on the big bundle, I just want to point out something that you can do. You can get both at the same time. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see something pops up there. You can click on that upgrade now, and that'll just add I guess I could have changed the name of upgrade now, but that'll add the template packs to the order form in case you're interested. They're not necessary by any means. You can build your own stuff, but these are there for those who are kind of curious about that, kind of wanted to start with something out of the box. And those are half off as well.
Yep, there we go.
And sorry to bring up all this to you guys. It's not really meant to be a sales webinar. We're really just here to kind of answer any questions and demonstrate this stuff. But I figured many of you are here because you were asking questions prior to deciding to take advantage of the Black Friday sale. So.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Let's pull up BloodHound here. So again, BloodHound is an indicator. It's in the indicator class. And so from your indicators window here, you're going to open up Shark Indicators. And there's BloodHound right there. We'll add that to the chart and then click OK. And there we go. So this is BloodHound down here on the bottom, this bottom panel down here, right? So, and you'll notice there's a empty template button up here. So as Jeremy so elegantly painted, BloodHound is a blank canvas so that you can describe, the trait conditions you're looking for, on the chart there. So let's see here. I'm going to switch over to the logic tab. Let's open this up a little bit more. And so the first thing we're going to do is add a new logic template here. So what's the difference here? So we have a name up top, and then we have a name down here on the bottom, right? So the difference is, the name on top is for a file name. That's a file name so that you can save your work, right? You want to save your work to a file so that way you can open it up later on. And then the second thing, the logic templates, this allows you, let me just add a whole bunch here, just kind of scan through. So this allows you to build a bunch of different trait signals all within, one BloodHound template. So kind of think of it as like, if you ever used Excel, right? With Excel, you can have multiple tabs so that you have different Excel spreadsheets, doing different calculations, but they're all within the same Excel file, just on different tabs. So these logic templates are like those different tabs, all contained within the same one file there. So let's see, some kind of indicator-based strategy here. Well, yeah, let me go with what I've got on the chart here. So let me go simply with what I've got on the chart. Yeah, let's go with this ADX VMA indicator here. We'll build some signals based on this, right? So when the ADX VMA goes red, we'll generate a sell signal. And then when the ADX VMA goes blue, we'll generate a buy signal, like so. So let's do some, we'll start with some basics here. So I'm going to start with a threshold solver, like so. And then And I'm just going to fly through this quickly, guys, because I don't want to bore you people with a long training session. That's what the workshops are for. The training workshops are for, is to teach you guys the details of this here. So let me just go and hook in the ADX VMA, and there it is right there at the top. Hook that in, and I'm going to access this trend output here, like so. And then I want that output turned on and that output turned on. All right. And so right now, simply put, you can see, right, with BloodHound, you're getting shorts when the indicator is going short, and you're getting this green long output when the indicator goes blue, for a long trend. Now, if we want to turn those into, simple discrete signals, what I can do is grab a signal blocker, right? Because, right now, what this looks like, right, is just kind of giving you the trend of the market, right? This is kind of giving you a trend bias, telling you that your moving average is in a long trend, or your moving average is in a short trend. So if we want to just turn these into, discrete signals, when that trend starts, I'm going to use the signal blocker here, like so. Just simply put, and let's see here. Let me set a couple of these. Let me set the signal blocker up correctly here. So let's see. Input. Yep, there we go. It's already set up good. So boom. I'm not going to save this work here. So, but simply put, there we go. So yeah, there's a real simple one right there. So yeah, so here, let me mark these here. So you can see I got a long signal there, and a short signal, and a long signal, and a short signal. And for those of you guys who are familiar with the ADX VMA, you might go, well, yeah, there was a long there, it went flat, and then it started long again. So what if you wanted, to see a long signal there? So anytime the indicator goes flat and then it starts a long trend again, you want to see a signal. Again, we can easily adjust our signal blocker here for that. So let's see, input, no signal. Let's turn that on there. And there we go. So there are those two long signals there when that indicator went flat to long there. Right? So there you go. There's kind of a real basic, simple idea. Yep. And let's see, since I still don't have any other BlackBird questions coming in here, let me just kind of expand upon this. So let's see. Hold on. Let me get BlackBird off for a moment here, just so we're not getting distracted by BlackBird. So let's go into the indicators, and I'll just do another very simple concept to just kind of get the point across. So I will add the MACD indicator on here, like so. And let's move the MACD up. Oh, and let me go in and adjust these plots. So okay, let's make that thicker. And let's turn this plot off. And there we go. Okay, so there's the MACD that most of us are familiar in looking at. So let's say we want to kind of filter these signals, based on an oscillator like the MACD here. Right, so let me, let's see, let me add, where is it? There we go. Yeah, so let me point out, right, so here's the zero line. So I just made that a little easier to read there. So there's the zero line. So let's say if the MACD is below the zero line, you only want to see short signals, right? So in other words, we want to get rid of this long signal here, like so, right? Because the MACD, we can see the MACD is below the zero line. So we want to get rid of that one there. You know, just as, again, as an example of a simple type of, you know, trade filter there. So let me go into the logic board here. And yeah, let's see here. I'll do an indicator comparison here. That way we can see some different solvers here. So what we call these solvers here, right? So these solver nodes, we call these solvers because they're solving for a particular type of condition. You know, so in other words, you know, like the crossover solver, it's looking for crossovers. When indicators crossover, it's looking for that type of condition. The slope one, you know, that one's obvious. It's looking to determine, you know, if your indicator is sloping up or sloping down or flat. You know, another one, the comparison solver. That one is so that you can determine whether something on your chart is above or below something else. You know, so we could use the comparison solver to determine whether the MACD line is above or below the average line. You know, or up here on price, we could use the comparison solver to compare price to this super trend indicator and see, you know, is price below the super trend or is it above the super trend? You know, is price below the ADX VMA or is it above it? Right, so these solvers are looking for these various conditions, you know, to solve a problem, right? So that's why they're called solvers. There's a little backstory there. So with our comparison solver here, let's let me plug in the MACD. So there's the MACD. And we can see that, right, the MACD has 3 different plots. So with BloodHound, you can select any of those plots, whichever one you're using here, right? But in our case, we're using the MACD, so let's make sure that's selected there. And then input B, well, we want to compare the MACD to the zero line. So we're going to put a fixed value of 0, representing the zero line. And so let's connect that up here. So this is kind of the cool thing about BloodHound, right? As you can see, I can see my results in real time, right? As soon as I connect one of these up, right, I can see the results on the chart instantly, instantaneous. So that's why BloodHound that's one of the main reasons why BloodHound's really become very popular out there. So looking at this indicator comparison, and of course everything's, you know, customizable here, so I can give this a custom name. So there we go. So instead of leaving that generic, you know, indicator comparison, I can give this a custom name here, and now I can know that, oh, I'm comparing the MACD to the zero line. That's what this guy is doing right here. And if we look on our chart, there we go. We can see whenever that blue MACD line, when it crosses above the zero line, we're now getting a long output. And so with both of these two components here, I can now connect them together with an AND node, right? So here, right, so there's my just raw ADX VMA signals there, right? We can see all these signals whenever that ADX VMA, you know, starts painting a trend direction. And now if I want, now I can take my MACD and hook that in as a filter here, and then filter these signals out. And there we go. This signal is now been removed based on this MACD filter. Right. So there you go. So Bill, I hope that wasn't too complicated, but that's kind of a simple, yeah, example of using a couple of indicators to build some, you know, kind of simplistic signals there. So, And of course, if we wanted to, if we don't want them to be signals, I could take our signal blocker out of the loop and just connect both indicators together. And so now I have an entirely different, type of output here that I'm looking at. So now I can see, so what this is showing me now is when the ADX-VMA trend agrees with the MACD being above or below the 0 line. All right, so here we go. We can see the ADX-VMA went long, had a long trend there for a couple of bars, but the MACD was below 0, so there's no output. But as soon as the MACD goes, as soon as our MACD goes above 0 here, and then the ADX-VMA goes into a long trend, well, then BloodHound is painting that on the chart for you. It's telling you that both your ADX-VMA and your MACD conditions are both true together. And it's showing you on the chart with the these red and green, what we call racing stripes. So this red, this red across your entire chart and green. Yeah, we had an early an early friend and customer kind of coined that term for us. We weren't sure what to call these the coloring of the background. We weren't sure of how we could refer to this in a simple manner, and he started calling them racing stripes, and we kind of liked it. We thought it was a little humorous, and it just kind of stuck. So yeah, so we call these the racing stripes here. These green and red. So all right, so I'll leave it at that there, Bill, and open the room up to some more questions to see if anybody else has any further questions of what they've seen so far.
Cool. That was a great demonstration. I'm glad Bill stuck around for that. I appreciate your patience on that, Bill. But yeah, I think that I know several of you don't own either BloodHound or BlackBird and have been kind of trying to figure out the difference and why you might need both. It's a very common question. So that was a great example of sort of how BloodHound really sets itself apart while still, you can definitely see a lot of really cool creative potential for coming up with a great entry system, and then on a whole other level, how you're going to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so again, I guess Bill's question kind of led into a great literal example of why is there a BloodHound, why is there a BlackBird? So we can see that, right? The indicators generate the trade signals. So indicators are doing the math, analyzing the markets, right, and doing the math, and therefore generate the trade signals. And then BlackBird, or the strategies, that is what actually manages the orders, gets you in and out of a trade. And let's see here. Oh yeah, I added a bunch of data to my chart, so it's taken a moment to get BlackBird back up here. So, all right. Let's see. Tariq has a question here. While backtesting a strategy, can you optimize your variables for optimal results? Let's see. If not, how can you? Yeah, that's a good question there, Tariq. So the short answer is, BlackBird and BloodHound can't be used in Ninja's optimizer because our tools are ahead of the time. Our tools are ahead of the game, and NinjaTrader hasn't quite caught up yet. Not to throw them under the bus, but if you've ever looked around, at other people's indicators, nobody has a customizable on-the-fly interface like BloodHound does, right? All the traditional indicators, here, let me pull up the indicator list, right? All the traditional indicators have, let me go to the super trend indicator. right? So this is the standard of indicators, right? You have a bunch of settings and you set them up ahead of time and you click OK, and that's it. You can't adjust anything on the fly. You know, if you want to adjust something, you have to open up the indicators list again, go in and adjust it, and then click OK again and update the thing, right? So the optimizer requires this static interface. So that's the reason why BloodHound, you won't see, you won't see BloodHound in the optimizer, because BloodHound doesn't have this static interface, you know, and it can't, because with BloodHound, you can change the indicators that you're using in BloodHound on the fly, right? And there's, you know, so you can use an infinite number of indicators, you know, any type of indicator, and all these indicators all have different settings, you know, so it's basically, it's I don't want to say impossible, but it's almost impossible to get all of those indicator settings exposed in a manner like this, right? So somehow there would need to be a way for BloodHound to expose every single indicator setting on this panel here, so that way it could be used in the optimizer, right? So the optimizer requires indicators to have all their settings exposed in this manner. But since BloodHound is so dynamic and you can change what indicators you want to use on the fly, you know, it's kind of difficult to get all those indicators exposed on this static type of interface here. So yeah, so that's the reason why we haven't gotten into the optimizer yet. So you know, we haven't given up hope. Jeremy is a very good programmer, as you can tell. I mean, Jeremy's been able to build BloodHound, you know, from scratch, and, you know, be able to hook into NinjaTrader in this very dynamic way. And so he's got some ideas in the back of his mind. You know, he just needs the time to kind of test them out. So yeah, this is no simple task for a programmer to be able to dynamically update this interface on the fly, you know, as you're also updating your BloodHound, you know, solvers on the fly as well. So, right, you can, I guess, hopefully you guys can imagine, right, that's a very complex task, you know, for the software to do. So
that being said, you know, you can still run it through the backtest engine using Raven for a simple entry test, or BlackBird, of course. And that's a quick and dirty way to just kind of get a benchmark, see some results, and then go make some tweaks and rerun that test. So that process has definitely become second nature after a while, once you've done it enough times. Yeah, It's not quite as simple as optimizing, but I don't really get many people, once they get a feel for that, I don't think I really get anyone telling me like, oh man, I missed the optimizer, just because it's still pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, right. You know, so if you wanted to try and optimize your MACD settings, yeah, you just simply go into, you know, your solver and open up the MACD, you know, indicators, and you just go in here and make some adjustments here, you know, manually, versus the optimizer doing it for you automatically. All right, so that was Tariq's question. Looks like good. We got some other questions coming in here. So good. All right, Franz has got one last question. What is the entry rate for BloodHound signals? What is the entry rate? Oh, okay, yeah. So for especially for very fast, volatile moving markets, yeah, what is the BloodHound entry rate for entry signals? Yeah, Franz, again, that is a question that's impossible to answer, because we don't know, first of all, the speed of your computer. We don't know how heavy duty your indicators are that you're using. You know, there are some definitely some third-party indicators out there that are really require a ton of processing just by themselves. So it depends on the indicators you're using. It depends on the number of indicators you're using in BloodHound, and the complexity of your logic. So there's so many moving parts there, Franz, that it's really impossible to say. And also it depends on, how much other work do you have NinjaTrader doing? Like how many charts do you have open? And how many indicators do you have running on those charts, right? Because those all require processing time as well, along with BloodHound. So you got to remember, BloodHound is just one of those indicators running on your chart. So all those other indicators on all those other charts, they're all competing for processing time, just like BloodHound would be. So there's so much variability that we can never. There is no answer for that question. That's basically an impossible question to answer without literally building it and testing it. That's the only way you'll ever get a real answer, is to build it and then test it, on a very volatile market day, such as that. So.
And some people ask about NinjaTrader 8. They say, well, it's multi-core. It handles it a lot better. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but NT8, it's one thread or one core per chart. Is that right? So
no, actually, it's less than that. So NinjaTrader 8's multi-threading definitely has helped. It's definitely helped offload all the processing onto multiple cores, but it's actually, let me pull up an example here. Let's pull up instrument list here. So this is what Ninja's multi-core is based on. It's one core per instrument. So let's say you're trading oil, for example. If you're trading oil, so if you have 5 charts of an oil chart up, all 5 charts, and all those indicators, they're all running only on one core, right? So even though you have 5 charts open, it's only one core that's driving that oil data feed. And then if you also have other charts open up, say gold, so let's say you like trading oil and gold together, well, gold will have its own thread as well. So that means NinjaTrader is only utilizing 2 cores of your processor, one for gold and one for oil. So while it's helpful, NinjaTrader isn't truly using all of your cores. The only time NinjaTrader would be using all of your cores, let's say you have an i7, with 8 threads, then you would have to have 8 different instruments open for NinjaTrader to utilize all your cores.
And that's actually really useful. It gets outside of our stuff, more broadly useful information for NinjaTrader. But if you're trying to determine what type of computer I need, if you're ever in the market, the raw speed, gigahertz speed per core is more important for most people than the number of cores. It's a little backwards from the way the industry is going, but for NinjaTrader, if you get like a 30 core processor, but each core is really slow, that won't be as good as it sounds.
Yeah, I've been using NinjaTrader for 10 plus years now, probably actually approaching 15 years now. And so with NinjaTrader, it's always been the speed of your processor that's been the most important aspect of your computer. Yeah, it's that raw gigahertz speed that really helps NinjaTrader the most. So, it's everybody's really glad that they're gone to multi-threading, and it definitely has helped. But at the end of the day, the raw speed is what really counts the most with NinjaTrader. So, yeah.
But ultimately, most of our customers, we don't get a lot of people complaining about performance. It's something to be mindful of. Mm-hmm. Don't have 500 years worth of data on your chart with 500 instruments or indicators on the same chart. That's going to bog things down. Just be mindful. And
I guess a typical, the typical system that a customer is running who's complaining about performance is someone who has like 20 charts open, and heavy duty indicators running on those charts at the same time. Basically, there's, some customers just think that they can just run anything and everything inside a NinjaTrader and have everything just run super smooth, but, remember, all indicators require processing time, and everyone kind of takes their little piece of the pie from your CPU's calculations and everything. Yeah, so you gotta look at the entire picture of everything that you're running in NinjaTrader if you're concerned about performance. So, yeah. So anyways, those are some good questions. I mean, that's kind of why we had this Q&A webinar, is to kind of answer those kind of off topic or off software type of questions here, and get into some of the nitty gritty if you guys want to. So, all right, let's see who we have next here. Let's see, Tariq.
While you're reading that, hey Bill, you sent a question in the chat. Go ahead and send us an email, and I'll get back with you on what the options are. I'll be happy to talk to
you. Let's see, Tariq, I'm not fully understanding your question. I think you're referring to the optimizer. I think. Yeah, Tariq, if you could just kind of clarify, what you're trying to get at there with your question, then I'll see if I can answer it. Let's see. So Dave is asking, can you use the same indicator for multiple time frames? In other words, a trend indicator for a 5-minute chart and a 50-minute chart. We didn't even really get into the multi-time frame aspect of system design here. So let's get, actually, hold on, let me clean up BlackBird a little bit here. So I kind of left some junk in here. Let me get rid of that trade signal there.
And while you do that, I thought I'd mention, he's asking about multiple time frames. Dave, when you get the, download our trial or purchase, whatever, the first few videos specifically for BloodHound, the third one actually covers multiple time frames. So very, high level, doesn't go really deep, but it gives you a good foundation. So it looks like Zach's going to talk about that a little bit, but when you get BloodHound, watch those first 3 videos when you start. It's about 20 minutes worth. That covers a nice foundation of these things.
What Keith is talking about here, so you can visually see something here, is if we go to the documentation here, let me click on that. There we go. Right, so you can see basically our core products here. So BloodHound and BlackBird come together. That's why they're both orange. And then BlackBird is kind of denoted with the blue coloring there. So there's basically our 2 core products. So if you click on BloodHound, what Keith is starting here is the getting started guide here. And there's a couple of quick start videos. And there's one, let's see, down here, there we go. The third one is multiple time frames. So very simple, bite-sized chunk here to kind of ease you into seeing how you implement multiple time frames here with BloodHound. So, but I will actually show you how we do this. So let's open up BloodHound here, and you know what? I should put a name in here because BloodHound keeps nagging me to put a file name in here so I don't lose my work, right? So let me get rid of that little message here by just putting let me just give this a name here real quick. There. There. All right. So now that I've got a file name here, BloodHound's not going to keep asking me to save a name here. So for multiple time frames, yeah, I haven't gone into the solvers tab here, but you notice there's two tabs on top here, right? So there's the logic tab, which you guys have seen so far. And then there's also the solvers tab here. Let's open this up a little bit more. So we can see the solvers tab just shows me the solvers only, and we can see there's no logic in here, right? It's the logic tab is where you actually connect things together and build that logic. So in the solvers tab here, this is more of a root function, of BloodHound. And so here's where you can see on the top it says default time frame. So what is the default time frame? Well, that is the chart that BloodHound's running on. So since BloodHound is running on a 5-range chart, well, the default time frame is this 5-range chart that BloodHound is working on. So if you wanted to add a 5-minute time frame, that's what this chart button's for, right? So we can hit chart, and there's the time frame. And so if we wanted to, we could put 5 minutes in there, and then I could add another one, and then also add a 50-minute time frame, like so, simple like that. And then if I want my indicators to run on those other time frames, I can move them down, right? So that way I could check the MACD on a 15-minute chart, right? While here, let's name this here so we can. There. And so the ADX VMA indicator is running on the default time frame, right? Something like that. Yeah. So if I wanted the ADX VMA to really be running on a 5-minute time frame here, really the proper way to do this is let me delete that 5-minute time frame, right? And then really put my chart on the 5-minute time frame, like so. All right, cool. So now the 5-minute chart, this 5-minute chart is my default time frame. So let's open up BloodHound now. Yeah, so there, the default time frame is 5 minutes. And so I've got my ADX VMA indicator running on the 5-minute chart. And then my MACD is running on the 15-minute time frame there. And then if we switch over to the logic tab, the logic board here, if I zoom in, right, you can see right above our MACD solver, it says 15 minutes. So we know that this solver is working on the 15-minute chart. And so the 15-minute chart data is being fed into the MACD indicator, for doing its calculations. So, yeah, so there you go. Dave, read your question there again, make sure I answered every part of it. Oh, yeah, so specifically this question was, can I use the same indicator on 2 different time frames? So yeah. So yeah, to get more specific here, so I could make a copy of this, and there we go. So now I have a MACD, right, running on my default 5-minute time frame, and then I also have a MACD running on my 15-minute chart as well. So there we go.
That's pretty common if you want to have like multiple EMAs on different charts. You want to see, are they all trending up? And that could be a condition for your setup.
Yeah, and so if I put both of these nodes on here, right, we can see one of them. This one's running on the 5-minute chart because there's no subscript above it or title. And we can see this one has 15 minutes above it. So we know this MACD is running on the 15-minute chart. There we go. Yeah, great. This is some good detailed questions here.
It's turned into almost a Bloodhound webinar, but basically no one has left since you started talking about Bloodhound, so that tells me people are interested. That's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely if you know, we don't have a specific webinar planned really soon for Bloodhound, but if you are interested in this stuff, you know, go on our workshops page and register. It's totally free, even if you've never even downloaded the trial. Come join us. You know, Zach is the one that hosts those weekly workshops. So
yeah, let me go to yeah, the training workshops page here. And yeah, so if we scroll down to the bottom, right down here at the very bottom under the recordings, and open up the Bloodhound list, right, there's just a good long list of, you know, questions that I was asked in these workshops here. So you can just kind of scan through this list and see, you know, do any of these topics kind of jump out at you, and then just watch the video at your convenience, and you know, from there you can learn you know, a lot more about, you know, what Bloodhound can do, and you know, at a more convenient time for you. So some of these topics are just very simple, kind of like one solver kind of filters, and some of these questions are actually like systems, you know, complete or nearly complete systems here. Let's see if I can find one here.
and you'll notice that most of them have a template that you can download, the Bloodhound template that he created.
Yeah.
Someone was asking about that, like, where do I find templates? You know, this is a great resource for that.
Right there. Yep, there's the download links right there.
And if you really can't find what you're looking for, you know, it's fun to browse through these, but, you know, definitely search specifically on our YouTube channel. The search there is really, really good. Or you can always contact us, and Mike will do his best to find videos that are relevant or just help answer your questions.
Yeah, so here's a fairly recent workshop here with systems, so signals from a swing trend indicator with a confirmation bar, and then here's another one, this 3-bar and 4-bar thrust pattern. So someone found this YouTube video out there with this 3-bar and 4-bar pattern, right? And so they kind of broke down what the rules are for me, explained it to me, and then I was able to build that in Bloodhound there. Yeah, so this here also is kind of a system trade. Let's see here. Oh yeah, here we go. Detecting, the trending order of multiple MAs. Yeah, so let's say you've got like a 30 period moving average, a 50 period, and a 100 period moving average, and you want to detect, right, when those different moving averages are all stacked on top of each other properly. You know, that's what this topic is right here. You know, so anyways, yeah, long list of questions that I've been asked throughout the weeks and throughout the years in all the workshop videos that I posted. So lots of questions there. So, all right. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Dave has got another question here.
It's like a follow-up to that last question about the multiple time
Yeah,
frames.
so Dave is asking, so what would it look like on the chart showing same indicator from 2 different time frames? Well, yeah, so Dave, Dave, I have a feeling you probably have a misunderstanding of what Bloodhound's going to do. So, so this is Bloodhound's output. So Bloodhound was designed to give you simple, you know, long output or a short output. You know, so ultimately, you know, you can use Bloodhound to build discrete trade signals, you know, like what this looks like, right? when you get just one simple signal, right? Those are typically referred to as discrete trade signals. Or some people use BloodHound a little, in a little more simpler fashion here, where this is there, where they have BloodHound giving them feedback like this, which basically is telling them, hey, the market is in basically a short downtrend or a short bias, so so they're using BloodHound to identify, some conditions here to say, what, so they're discretionary traders. And so they'll only take short trades when BloodHound is giving them, right, this short output. And then vice versa, they won't trade when there's no output, but then they will trade, if they're getting, let's see, let's go back here, and then they will trade if they're getting this, long output. They'll take long trades only. So, right, so there's lots of ways, so it's really up to you guys to use BloodHound as you see fit best, for you. So there's no one canned idea in which you can use BloodHound in. It's been interesting over the years to see how people have been using BloodHound. I think, originally BloodHound was kind of designed, with the core idea in hand, which is, generate discrete trade signals. That was kind of like the original idea, that got us working on BloodHound. And so even though that was kind of BloodHound's original concept, thankfully we kind of built more flexibility in the BloodHound, and then customers have found kind of other various uses on their own, for their own trading style there. Yeah. So, so back to the question here about, what's it going to look like on the chart, if you have an indicator on two different time frames. So again, BloodHound's just going to give you this long bias or short bias on your chart. So BloodHound's not going to put the MACDs on your chart, right? So if you want to see, the MACD from two different time frames, you'll just need to put them on the chart, on those two different time frames as you see fit. So, so BloodHound's not putting this MACD on the chart, just to be clear. This is BloodHound down here at the very bottom. This is what BloodHound outputs. So I actually put this MACD on the chart myself, just, the same way you'd put any chart, any indicator on the chart. Right. All right. So, so Dave, I hope that kind of cleared up any misunderstanding, and hopefully that was what you were asking.
And as a reminder to both the bills, actually, just go ahead and contact me at support@sharkindicators.com. I'll be able to answer those specific questions sort of for your situations.
Let's see. Tariq is asking, can you explain the backtest line breaks? How is it different from minute candles, and what's the advantage? Okay, yeah, so the line break bar type, that's not our invention. We just made it back testable. So there's a couple of bar types, that come with NinjaTrader that aren't truly back testable. And what that means is your back test results will be skewed from these bar types based on NinjaTrader's backtest engine, right? So, let me pull this up here. So let's pull up, let's see. Yeah, let me clean up my chart a little bit here. Let me turn BlackBird back off here so we're not distracted. Let's get rid of BloodHound here. All right, so let's go into the data series. Right. So in our data series, we have, right, NinjaTrader has all of these different chart types, right? So ticks, volumes, range, second, minute, day, weekly, monthly, so on and so forth, Heikin-Ashi. And so also there's a line break. So NinjaTrader has a line break bar built into it now with NinjaTrader 8. And then for our line break bar, let me add another data series on here. And then I can switch this over to the SI. So SI is shark indicators. BT is short for backtest. So you notice we have, let's see, let's scroll down here. We have a backtest Renko and the backtest line break. All right, so here's the backtest line break. And let's pull up, yeah, let me kind of shrink this down to just 3 days here. So let's see, 3 days and 3 days. Okay, let's put this on here. And let me move this up there. Let's shrink these down here. Let's get rid of this. There. Yeah. There we go. Let's make these bars a little thicker so you can see them easily, right? So this is Ninja's bar type up on the top here, right? Up here on top. So you can see, so the original bar type, you can see it doesn't have any wicks. So that right there kind of makes it incompatible with backtesting, right? Because if you don't have the wicks, then you won't know if your stop loss got hit when you're backtesting. Or you won't know if a profit target got hit. So yeah, here's a great example, right? So oh, here, let's mark these here. So that bar and that bar are the same. There, let's scroll this over. There. All right. Right, so if you're backtesting, you know, this wick could have hit your profit target, you know, if you're in a long trade there. That could have hit your profit target. But with NinjaTrader's line break, right, there's no wick missing. So from that standpoint, you wouldn't get, NinjaTrader wouldn't be able to do a proper, not proper, but a correct backtest without that wick. So yeah, and then the other thing about the line break is if you look closely, you'll notice every bar ends and begins at the same price. So you notice how this line break, it looks like steps, and each close and open equal each other, right? So, and obviously, you know, that's not how markets truly move, right? The bars never open and close at the exact same price. So again, that will also skew your backtest results. So, so let's see here. Yeah, let's take this bar and this bar as an example. Oh, sorry. There we go. These are the two bars. So these bars are both the same here, right? Now, if we look at the traditional line break, you know, so again, keep in mind, this is the traditional line break. So, you know, NinjaTrader's not doing anything wrong here. They built the line break as it was originally intended to look. But it just so happens that this original design doesn't work well with backtesting. So let's take a look at this green up bar, right? And then you have this red down bar. So again, right, so the open and closes equal to each other. Well, obviously price did not move up and it did not gap down like that. That's not how price originally moved. So again, that could potentially skew your backtest results. So yeah, so I made this backtestable line break bar. And so now when we look at this red bar, we can see it actually opened up here very close to where this green bar closed. Right now, that obviously looks correct. There shouldn't be that gap. There shouldn't be that gap here, right? But the traditional Japanese line break bar does have this gap here, and so it's skewing the true price of that entire bar. Yeah. So there you go. So that's the reason why I built this back testable line break bar, is so that you have all the data, you have all the prices within that bar that truly took place, right? So the wicks are there. The true open of the bar is correct, as opposed to, these reversal bars here where the open of this red bar is not the true open, is actually up here, where the green bar closed, right? So there you go, Tariq. That's a little background history there, yeah, of the line breaks. Well, let's see what else we have here. Well, I think we're getting at the end of the questions. Yeah, which is pretty good. We've been going for 2.5 hours. So yeah, lots of good questions here, guys. Let's see. Yeah, so I think with that, yeah, let's kind of wrap this up here, guys. It's definitely getting late. I'm sure some of us are starting to get hungry here. So let me just, just kind of remind you guys of a couple things here. If you have some really more detailed questions, about BlackBird or BloodHound, or you just want to know how to build something in BloodHound or BlackBird, you can always email us at any time with your question, or again, you can jump into the workshop. So here's the schedule, and there's links right here that you can click on for both BloodHound and BlackBird, two different workshops. So BloodHound is on Thursday, BlackBird is on Friday, different days there. So there's registration links. So if you can attend live, that's great. If you can't, then you can email us. So let's see, where is it? Contact us. Either you can email us or you can use the contact us page as well. So if you want, you can ask your question on the contact page, or just email our support. Let's see. I don't see
on the left there in the middle.
Oh, there we go.
That's good if you need to attach a screenshot. If you're like, hey, here's an example of a chart. I'm trying to do this, this, and this. How would I do that in BloodHound? That's how you'd attach a screenshot for us to take a look at. Mike, our tech guy, sort of the expert on this stuff, he'll be emailing you back and do his best to kind of help you out.
Right. Yep. And I can even, if you have a complete question, I can even answer your question in the workshop, and you don't actually have to be there live. If you can't make it, you don't have to be in the workshop live, but you can send your question in and I can get it answered for you. And, as you guys seen, we do record these workshops and then we post the recordings up later on after they get edited. So
yeah, and you can request them. You can request the raw copy of it right after if you're in a hurry to see your question.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, with that, and we just remind you guys, of course, the Black Friday sale has started today, and we are probably one of the, or maybe the only companies out there that offer a 30-day money-back, guarantee. right? So if you just kind of find out that the products just doesn't fit your trading style or whatever the case is, you know, we even had, you know, somebody purchase and then kind of found out that their work schedule really changed, and they just couldn't um, do their trading, you know, like they wanted to, because their work schedule changed. You know, they just didn't have the time to focus on their trading, and so they just emailed us back and said, you know, hey, things have changed, you know, and asked for a refund, and you know, not a problem. So right, so there you go. So 30-day, you know, risk-free to take advantage of these, you know, bargain basement prices here. You know, this is the only time of the year that our prices are this low.
Yeah, and offering that refund policy, it's kind of funny that the fact that we get so few requests for it kind of builds our confidence. It kind of reminds us like, oh, yeah, if there's any doubt, we do offer awesome products and awesome service, right? Because so few people request a refund, but it's there just in case you need it. So.
Yep. So again, yeah, our tools are really there to help you become a better trader. You know, we're not here to try and sell you some kind of canned system for thousands of dollars. You know, our tools are here, just to help you become a better trader. And, you know, and like in BloodHounds, you know, in terms of BloodHound, you know, BloodHound is here to offload all of that chart analysis, you know, instead of having to analyze all these indicators on your chart, you know, mentally, you know, why not let BloodHound do part of that or all of that? You know, obviously it depends on what your you know, trading concept is, but you know, let the computer, you know, do a bunch of that work for you, if not all of it. So same with BlackBird. You know, instead of trying to manually manipulate your orders, you know, yourself, you know, why not let the computer, let the software manage that for you, you know, and offload some of that responsibility, so that way you're not such a stressed out trader. Okay, guys, with that, let's wrap this up. I need a big glass of water after all this couple hours of talking here. So, okay, guys, with that, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.